Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Joan Denizot, founder of Body Ready and Z Bites, an entrepreneur, advocate, and innovator who is passionate about helping people move, live, and travel with confidence. Drawing from her own lived experiences, Joan has dedicated her career to creating more inclusive products and empowering others to embrace their bodies without shame or limitation. Our work is a powerful reminder that confidence isn't about fitting into the world, it's about creating a world where everyone belongs. Joan, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here too. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so I want you to take us back, right, to your 20s, basically. So, what was life like in your 20s, and what were the dreams and aspirations driving you then?
Wow, that was a long time ago. So in my 20s, I was most of the time I was either living with or married to my first husband. I had one daughter when I was 26 and I had another one when I was 30. So I was very much into just being me, like I living, taking care of my babies, living. I wasn't thinking that much. Oh, that's not true. I trained in France for a while. I lived in France and I trained as a chef. So I did some work where we lived, which was in Vermont. I did some work as a chef, but like as soon as I had my kids, I stopped really caring about that and started really focusing on my kids. So.
All right, thank you for taking us into your 20s. Right, so I'd like to ask, right, looking back, what do you think were some of the biggest challenges you faced at that phase of your life?
I think my biggest challenge has been for a very long time my weight because I'm a tall woman. I'm very tall. I'm also very heavy. And people are mean. Really are. They mock you if you don't look like everybody
Mm,
else. And it doesn't matter if
mm,
it's the color of your skin, the color of your hair, your size, your height. People mock you. And so I was teased a lot about being fat. And I kind of overcame it in many ways because I was like, I'm just gonna be me, right? And but it still hurt deep inside. So I
mm.
think that drove my business incarnations as I think it was in my early 40s that I started my Zeiss bikes. And it drove that because it's wrong and it doesn't make sense and it just angers me. And I'm like, okay, I can get mad, but why don't I just do something about it? So that's what I did.
Wow. All right. And the funny thing is I feel like most young women today, right, they actually do face what you just mentioned, people mocking your looks, saying you're fat, and most of these things causes like it kind of like deflates people's self-confidence, right? So I love that instead of reducing your self-confidence and stuff like that, you actually decided to work on something that eventually worked for you. So that is something one can emulate, right? Especially with the younger generation. Wow. Okay, so I want us to talk about entrepreneurship, inclusion, and body confidence. Very important. So
Mm.
you founded Body Ready to help people move and live with confidence, right? So without rigid wellness rules, what inspired that mission?
Well, actually, the first company that we're talking about that I founded was Zeiss Bikes. And that was actually, so I was very heavy and I knew I need to exercise, but I hate to exercise. Always hated to exercise. And the only thing I ever loved to do was ride my bike. And I said, okay, I'm going to get a bike. And because I was so big, I said, all right, I need to make sure for weight. And I went to numerous stores, called manufacturers, did all this stuff. And everybody said, oh, yeah, our bikes are really heavy duty. It'll hold 200 pounds, which is like less than 100 kilos. I mean, it's nothing. in the scheme of how big people really are, especially in America. And so, typical Joan, I said, well, I'm going to change that, which I did, but it wasn't just like that, you know,
Mm,
it
right.
was work. And so, so that company is still alive. Again, that was probably 23 years old. It's pretty old. But
Mm,
what that taught me, first of all, it taught me a few things. It taught me the gratitude of people that somebody was building something they could use. And
mm,
it was so heartwarming every time I helped somebody. And meanwhile, I was living my life and finding maybe because I was just getting a little fussier, but it was hard to dress myself, right? Like I want to look good. So I would try to find myself. So obviously I went online because that was where the clothes were. But even then they wouldn't go up big enough. And they were so limited in what sizes they were. And I'm just like, all right, I've helped people, they can find bikes now. And that's awesome. That's huge. But people need to be able to dress. They need to be able to go to work or go to play and have things they can move in. And it just worked on me so much that that is how Body Ready became a thing. Is like, I
mm,
just need to try to help it be easier for people to live comfortably, joyfully, and well in this world. And I decided that what is probably the best way to do that was really working through businesses so that they see there's a need, right? Like
mm,
it's not just
right.
there's a few fat people, so we're gonna, make things from nah, we're like over 50% of the population. Like it's a
Mm,
lot of people that are big. Why are people
actually.
ignoring us? So that
Mm.
started Body Ready. And I've gone into this whole song and dance. I can't remember the original question. So if you want to take me back, I can try to answer that.
Okay, we actually kind of answered the question, right? Well, like I said, I asked what inspired the mission, right?
Okay.
So, yeah,
So that's
you
it.
kind of
Yeah. My
answered it,
life
right?
and not being able to find things. So yeah.
All right. I'm not also liking workouts, like you said, actually. All right. So, society, right? It often sends, should I say, messages, right, about who belongs in fitness or adventure. So, how do you encourage people to, challenge those assumptions?
Well, I encourage people by living my best life. That's one thing I do. I mean, yeah, I'm a human. I have plenty of down moments and I'm not always as nice as I wish I was, but I also really love life and I really appreciate it. And so I try to show that. And I also not afraid to kind of point out the things that I do that are stupid or I find are stupid in my like higher self, like I just like
Mm.
we all do this stuff and it's okay. And it's okay to laugh at me. It's okay. I laugh at myself. I mean, I'm not mocking myself, but I'm like, oh gosh, look what I did. And so I think the whole thing is just self-love. And that's what I try to do. And with the Lifestyle Body Ready show that is coming on TV, that the whole thing is about,
Mm.
I now, I now live in France again, and my husband is French. And so we come here every summer. And it's great, it's lovely, but fat people in France are really well, they're less unusual than they used to be, but they are not the norm. And French are very stylish, they're very attuned to all that. And so integrating me, Joan, as I am into that lifestyle has been interesting. But now I'm here and I love it.
Mm.
I actually think, yeah, okay. And yeah, I'm bigger than, six of my tiniest friends, but who cares, right? Like, I mean, we all have our different things.
Exactly.
So so the best way I can help people see it is by living it and sharing my life with all its ups and downs. So,
Mm. All right. Well, I also feel like time kind of like plays a major role, right? With time, you get to, practice more self-love and then you build your self-confidence, right? So,
mhm.
and I also think that there are other factors, right, to building self-love. right? Because that is really important, honestly. I mean, you could even, let's just say a fat person could start this program, and if they don't love themselves enough, they might still not like the outcome. So self-love
Absolutely.
is actually very important. So what do you think are like some practical ways or habits that we could, start practicing self-love?
For me, I think it's the biggest nut. It's the hardest one because if you've been
Mm,
told your whole life, ah, you're fat, you're stupid, you're whatever
mm,
it is that we've been told, that is what's in our psyche. However, I think trying to find that self-love. And I mean, you can talk with a therapist, you could talk with a best friend, you could journal, you could pray, whatever is your
mm,
path to connection. And I mean, I still have to do it regularly. I still, I mean, I have a lot of success and I am happy in my life. And yet I still have to remind myself I'm worthy. It's okay
mm,
that, my hips are huge and like really it doesn't matter, but we don't remember. And so I think the trick is finding a way that works for you to connect, which I mean it took me 40 years, and then reminding yourself regularly and living it. Find something that makes you happy and just live it. If it means a
mm,
bike ride, go get a bike that'll hold your weight. If it
mm.
means, I don't know, jogging, I don't know who would do that for fun. But anyway, I know people do. Then do it. Whatever it is,
Right.
just find a way that makes you feel better. And then it kind of evolves, but it's not a fast process. I mean, that's my
Mm,
experience. It was not a fast process, but it's a crucial one. I mean, we're all here for a reason, right?
yeah.
So that reason, is it to be miserable? I don't think so.
Mm,
To hate ourselves. I don't think so. I think the reason is for me, it's about finding love and finding joy. And,
mm.
and you just have to start with yourself, right?
Right.
Bingo.
Oh, okay, like you said, the key thing is about, finding love and finding joy. I mean, we did not come to this, we were not here on earth because we want to, wallow in self-pity. And I know it's not easy, right? Sometimes the bullying can get to you, especially, if you've always been bullied right from your childhood, it gets to you sometimes. I understand that part. But it's important to choose joy, right? Regardless, just find what works for you and do it, right? Do it. Emphasis on doing it. So yes, thank you, John. This has been amazing, right? And yes, I'd like to ask, right? Joy is like a central part of your message, right? So why do you believe joy is such an important part of, health and well-being?
Well, I mean, for me, it's my lived experience. Like when I allowed myself to be happy, like everything goes from gray to rose, right? Like it's great. But
Mm,
also, it's it to me joy also means love. And I
mm,
had some bad experiences with religion, and I'm not going to go into them because they're the past, but I still believe in a greater being, a greater spirit, a reason, like you were saying. We're here for a reason. And for
mm,
for me, the best way to express that is to just be joyful, just have fun. Because when I'm smiling, I love everything, right? If I get caught up in my little mind and like, you drive terribly, blah, 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 whatever I'm saying to whoever I'm saying it to, it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make them happy. It's not doing anything for anybody, right? The other thing is proven. This is fascinating to me. It is proven by medical test that when people find joy, their health actually improves. Not just their
mm.
mental health, their physical health actually improves. So it's like it's a no-lose situation, right? Of course,
Right.
leading to joy. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a no-lose. I mean, your body's getting healthier, your mind's getting healthier, your attitude's getting healthier, and you're having fun. What's not to love, right? So,
Exactly. Wow. Okay, when we are talking about finding joy, I don't know. I'm trying to be realistic, right? It's you'll be happy, like you said, there's a way you'll be so joyful. physically you start to look okay, right? It affects you every way, right? You're happy physically, you start enjoying life, right? You start looking good. But then again, it's almost like we are in a sad world, right? Especially when it comes to the younger generation. When you talk about joy, it's so difficult, right? So I don't know, do you have any advice when it comes to, the younger ones? Because there's depression out there, there's overthinking, there's comparison, right? Because of social media, everybody feels like they're behind, right? So there's a whole lot of things. So being joyful is almost difficult, right? So what advice do you have for people in that category?
Well, since my days as a parent of young children are long gone, um,
Mhm.
I hope, sorry, there's a paint plane. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can't hear myself think. There's so I mean, I have grandchildren, and it's interesting because you can't tell parents how to parent their kids, right? That's
Mhm.
um
Right.
but what I think parents need to do is just set boundaries for kids. Like
Mhm.
and like there's like in France, apparently, I'm not 100% sure of this fact, so but they don't allow cell phones in any school until the like kids are like 15. They just can't bring cell phones. And it might even be older than 15, might be any like public school. So so much of that, like people you hear kids committing suicide, like I mean, it just like it's so heart-wrenching.
Mhm.
And a lot of that is, I mean, it's bad enough when, your neighbor says, geez, I think your pants are tight enough, or whatever, mean little snotty comment they're gonna make. It's worse when you hear it from other people and then everyone, yeah, did you see that? And heard you got a belly roll or whatever they're picking on, it
Mhm.
magnifies it. So if you could just stay off it, that's a good plan because even like my oldest has two kids and she works full time, her husband works full time. They live in the middle of nowhere, so they're constantly busy.
Mhm.
She does allow her kids to have tablets, not on school nights, and she really controls what they can view, which is another thing that parents can do because if life is so busy, you need to have them do something because you can't be there and parent them as much as you'd like. They need to not have exposure to everything. And I know
Mhm.
there are controls available. I don't know how to use them. It's not my job, but I know that they're there. So for me, one way to help kids be kids and love life is to provide as much real stimulation and fun as
Mhm.
possible and not that all that social media attitude crap that people give. So that's a big thing. Also, encourage playfulness. To me, like again, like if the kids are curious, are they're involved in different things and give them like my grandson, my oldest is like he's really into animals. He knows all about animals, but his dad is into that. So he's learned it, right? And that's
Mhm.
great. He's learned a lot of things and he educates me on animals regularly. And oh,
Mhm.
that's not a bison, Nanny. That's a wild boar or something. I don't know, I'm making this up. But like he'll tell me that I'm being wrong. And I'm like, okay, thanks, Thomas. Yeah, that's good to know. So the whole thing is that I think you have to set boundaries for kids. And when they get older, they can help set them for themselves. But if you haven't given them any boundaries, they're not going to know how to set them. They're not going to be used to saying, "Oh, I really shouldn't do that because that's bad for me," right? And
Mhm.
or not bad, that's a bad word, but like that's not the best thing for making me feel happy. That always puts me in a bad mood when I read that. So maybe I shouldn't read those kind of comments, right? So this is all off the cuff. I will tell you, I haven't given it a lot of thought. So this is Joan's brilliance off the cuff. I can promise you nothing. And I don't know if it would work, but that to me seems like the way to help kids stay safe because really the depression, the sadness, I mean the economy, the politics is horrible all over the world as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned.
Right.
But you can help them if you're active socially, in you know fighting against the president or whatever you do. I mean, you can also get them to help you do that, whatever it is, but get them to move into life with fun and with purpose. Because if we don't, where are we, right? I mean, we're committing suicide at 14 because, we feel all alone.
Hmm.
And that's so tragic, right? I mean, that would be there you go. That's very priceless information, you know.
Wow. Ooh. All right. Honestly, thank you for that one. I think it's amazing, actually. And like you said, right, setting boundaries. When you set boundaries for your kids, they grow up to actually set boundaries for themselves, right?
Exactly.
They try to, limit the contents they're exposed to, right? Unlike when you don't set boundaries, they just get exposed to the world without knowing where to start from, and sometimes it becomes overwhelming. Right. So the key word is setting boundaries. Ooh, all right.
Modeling those boundaries, right? Because
Yeah.
like I'm a little embarrassed to admit I'm pretty addicted to Facebook, right? And so like I'll be in a few Facebook groups, and if people start being snotty to each other, I just unsubscribe to that group. I don't want to read that. I don't need to read that. I'm battling with enough of my little snippy comments. I don't need to read other people's to make it worse. So maybe, kids learn that. Oh, these people are mean. I'm not gonna take part in this. So learning how to do all that and not getting sucked in. So, but yeah,
Exactly.
we're on the same page. I think, okay, we figured out the child crisis. There we go.
All right. Wow. Okay. Actually, that helps. I think it's something I'll be practicing myself as well, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just get so engrossed in what you're doing. You start to read those negative comments. You start to, snoop around. I know what I mean by snoop around, by the way. And it makes you sad at the end of the day, right? So it's better to avoid it, right?
Yeah.
To
No need to hear
help
it.
your
And I don't
mental
know
health.
about your mind, but my mind provides plenty. And my job is to say, no, no,
No.
look at all you have. Look at the life that you're living. Look at, you can go take a walk and feel great about, whatever it is. But you got to train yourself to do that because there's enough. There's too
Right.
much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that you said we have to actually train ourselves to do that. It doesn't just happen overnight, right?
No.
We need to train the mind. Oof. Oh, honestly, it sounds like a lot of work. But
Well, it is a lot of work, but on the other hand, what's your option? Right?
right.
We're in
Mm,
this world at this point, and as my husband will remind me occasionally, he's so grateful that we live in this time with the internet and everything. And I'm like, I don't know. It seemed like it might have been easier back in the days when you think about like people went by horses everywhere. So everything smelled like poop and everything, like all these things you don't think about because people glamorize it. And it's like, I kind of like the smell of clean air? And
right.
so you just embrace where you are because that's where
Exactly.
we are, right?
Right. Wow. Hmm. All right. So yes, thank you, Joy. This has been amazing, honestly. And finally, I would like to ask you, right? What does living fully in your own body mean to you, right? And how can young people begin developing that mindset earlier in life?
Oh God, that's a good question. Again, for me, it came from acceptance. I mean, you
Mm,
have to dress yourself no matter what. So you find clothes that fit, but whether you find something that you don't care and it looks terrible, or whether you say, "Oh, I like these pants. They fit nice." Like I mean, and it's not just clothes; it's everything. And the bigger you are, the harder it is to find that place. For me, again, this is about a body. Um, but I think it applies to no matter what it is. Like, if you're a Muslim and you wear like the headscarf and like so people diss that and like how do you get over that and still love yourself and feel good about yourself in the body
yeah.
you've got in the life you lead, right? And
Yeah.
and to me, it's all about just teaching yourself, setting up your own boundaries, and
Mm,
finding happiness. Because if you're laughing with friends and you're the only one in a headscarf, nobody cares you're wearing a headscarf. They're having fun with you, right?
Right.
Nobody cares that you're 5 sizes bigger than them or 20 size. Doesn't matter. You're enjoying life. And to me, that's the key to everything. And that's why I'm like, it's all about joy. It's about finding that. And the way to do it is just practice it, I think. I really do. I mean, I don't have a better answer. Get old. Eventually, your body says, I've seen enough, right?
Right, exactly. Okay. And like you said, right, acceptance. First of
Yeah,
all, you need to
huge.
accept, right? And then, setting boundaries and just living life to the fullest, right? Do what makes you happy. That's just basically it. Wow. Okay. So yes, thank you, Joanne. This has been amazing. Right. And it brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment. You could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. What is one word that describes your 20s?
Self-involved. That's 2 words, but it's
Hmm.
hyphenated. So my 20s, I was self-involved, right?
Wow. So what is a word that describes you now?
Oh, one word is really hard.
Okay,
I
we
would
can make it two.
I, I would say searching, but not in a lost way, but I want the deep meaning. That's what I want. I want to make sure that I'm living the best I can live. And I'm not perfect. Sorry, folks, it's true. And I don't I don't live a perfect life. And so just being and grateful. Gratitude is another. That's a really good word. I am grateful for what I've got, right? And that engenders all the rest, I think. I'm changing it to gratitude.
Gratitude. Wow. Okay, so would you prefer a beach holiday or a mountain adventure?
Beach, all the way. I
Mhm.
love water. I absolutely love water. I love lazing about doing nothing. And I love people watching. All are perfect.
All right, okay. So what is a book that's influenced your perspective?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to give you the book that most influenced my perspective. It's the one I wrote.
Okay, let's
I'm
hear it.
sorry, that's a little braggy, but I mean, it is a reflection of my perspective. Did it influence it? It's hard for me to tell you a book that influenced it because it was a lifetime of stuff. But my book is Big Body Business, and it is available on Amazon. And it's a book I wrote for businesses, but it's really written kind of like I talk, which is like a little here, a little there, because to me, that's the way life is, and that's how it makes sense to me. And so it's a very readable book. And um, I mean, I'm not just saying this for the sales, although obviously if I sell a book, that's great, but it's more like I think it touches a lot of people. Many people that read it said, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I get it." Right? I didn't get it. I didn't know. I didn't understand all the repercussions. And so, big body business. There you go.
People. All right, and finally, what is one message every young person should hear today?
It's the same one I keep saying, learning to love yourself. It's so important. And you know how in every school, like there's always the cool kids that just seem to like, everybody loves them. They're really cool. They get good grades. It's disgusting. But they seem to have like a almost an old soul or something where there's a greater comfort in them. And I think that's what we all are looking for. Like we want to be comfortable with ourselves. And I think searching for that and even if it's fake manifesting, I mean, fake it till you make it is a definite, that's something I did for a long time. Now I just say anything, which gets me into trouble. But 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 really, like you enter a new job. I don't know. Okay, they hired me. I don't know if I know how to do this. You figure it out. You're in
Um,
school. There's like a group of kids, like you're in a new school, and there's some kids that you just feel drawn to. Act like you know how to, move in with a group like that. Just just really trust your gut and what it wants and go for it because it's it's worth it, right? It's worth
Mm.
it. You
Right.
get to find a life of happiness and joy and gratitude and all the things that to me are the important things. So,
Mm. Oh, all right. Thank you for that one, Joanne. I think that was amazing, by the way. And yes, finally, Joan, before you go, where can listeners get to, learn more about you and also connect with you?
all right. Well, I have way too many websites I mean, I can tell you, but they're like, I have four websites. If you're looking at a bike, if you're interested in bikes or any kind of bike accessories, like your seat, your saddle kills you, whatever, Zeiss Bikes, and that's Zize bikes, plural. Okay. So, and also you can just look up my name, which is a hard name, but it's Joan, and the last name is Denizot. Again, my husband's
Mm.
French. He wanted me to take his name. I took his name. So now I have a weird last name, but that's okay because there's not a lot of me. So if you look up Joan Denizot, there's a really good chance you're going to find me. Um, and so I have bodyready.org, and that is where like I talk to businesses. I'm like, let me help you find
Mm.
customers, improve your sales, connect better with people. Bodyready.shop is where we advertise, market, I don't know we tell people about products that have
Mm.
worked for people in big bodies. And many times it's clothes or it's chairs that are sturdy enough or ladders that can hold 500 pounds, things that people are not used to having. It's very hard to find these things. So
Mm.
again, in my years of searching before I started Body Ready, first there was huge frustration, and then I was like, people need to be able to find this, not spend 45 minutes looking for a ladder that can hold them. It's silly. So there's that, and then there's also just joandenizo.com, I guess. That's where you can find my book and writings and stuff. But search my name. That's where you'll find more than you wanted about me. So sorry, I just got a call, and where the heck did you go? Can you still see me?
Oh, yes, I can. Can you see
Okay,
me?
now I'm back. Okay.
All right. So yes, thank you, Jordan. And I'll put all the links in the show notes, right? So it's easily accessible for listeners. And to my listeners, I want to say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, John. Do you have a
Thank you so
wonderful
much.
day ahead of you?
It was wonderful. Have a great
Oh,
day.
all right. Take care. Bye.